Allow me to ask you all a question. When is less more desirable than more? When you're stuck on a 7-hour flight with 14 screaming children, less eardrums may benefit you in that scenario. Or perhaps you drop your lunch on the office floor and it ends up covered in hair and schmutz and whatnot. Perhaps it'd be nice to simply have less fucks to give. But what about healing operators? Could it ever be advantageous to use less rather than more? Fewer medics is less healing, right? But why bother with 3 single target medics when you can instead use one chick to handle all these dudes at once? Yeah, okay, that came out wrong. It's very, very difficult to produce a class with only good operators, because there's always one that throws a wrench into things. Usually a 3-star, but not always. AoE medics, which by the way don't actually use AoE, it's just a colloquial name, manage to skirt around this flaw by simply not having a problem child. AoE medics are good chiefly because they provide a hell of a lot of healing to a hell of a lot of different places with a hell of a lot of haste. Because they can heal multiple allies at once, one AoE medic can be used to babysit an entire goddamn platoon of meat shields. Technically, they average out to a lower attack stat than single target medics, but that literally never matters, and most of them have absurd skills that just completely invalidate that point anyway, so irrelevant. Now, on a base level, this is already a really good class. Making it any better than this would be profoundly disrespectful. Oh, what is that? One of the best modules in the game? Yeah, that tracks. Say hello to the AoE Medic X module, which expands their range by 1 tile. 1 whole tile. Amazing. I know it sounds like I'm being sarcastic here, but no, I'm actually being serious for once. Like, I know it's only 1 tile, but I don't think you fully understand just how useful that 1 tile is. I can't properly justify this module being good, you kinda just have to trust me. This dumbass tumor will save your ass so many fucking times you will question how you managed to do anything without it. It's so good. The other module is okay, I guess. It's never really that useful. 3 targets is typically enough, but when it is relevant, it can be pretty nifty, though you'd only ever use it on Perfumer. Speaking of which, Perfumer is the kind of operator you build super early in the game because you need a medic, and then just kind of keep using even as you start picking up better options because something in the back of your mind really doesn't want to let go of her, but eventually you're forced to come to terms with the fact that her global healing isn't actually that useful. It's just kind of neat, so you finally swap her out of that roster spot she's had sole rights over since the Cambrian explosion. It's the hardest goddamn thing you've ever had to do. I might be projecting here. Perfumer is a good 4-star. That's mostly by virtue of her class, but I don't say that to take away from her talent, which is actually really good in its own right and reliably very nice to have on standby. Okay, fine, it sucks. Perfumer's talent is not great. I want it to be good so bad, but it's not. Perfumer provides a global healing effect whenever she's deployed, which is awesome and I love it, and it demands the development of a playstyle that involves recklessly chucking your operators into bum-ass corners of the map and providing them with absolutely no healing support in anticipation of Perfumer somehow keeping them alive with a 5% HP regen per second. I'm not one to judge playstyles, but if you're playing Arknights like this, you are clinically insane and should be checking yourself into an institution as soon as possible. Global healing just ain't everything it's chalked up to be. The only way I can see it actually contributing is if you comboed her with Silence or Aya from the stupid bitch garbage event that I hate, but that's just tedious and you're making your life harder for no reason by doing it. Of course, I say that as a dude who actively uses cement, so maybe don't take that to heart. Even discluding the range of her talent though, I'd still consider Perfumer an actively good operator, since the dual threat of her passive and active healing combined admittedly does become quite alarming with the rest 2 active. She's legitimately very good at keeping people alive, and I still sometimes use her, if for no reason other than supervising penance and Lazy the Zippy Zap. Wait, did I not mention that her talent heals enmities? Because it does. That's cool, right? Yeah, that's cool. Perfumer is cool. At this stage in the game, medics are far and away the most vulnerable archetype of the 8. Their role is the most strictly fossilized. They heal. Even guards who merely DPS can present that damage in about a billion different ways. Medics heal. Great. It's no secret by now that in order to be viable operators, medics have to do something distinct, if not unique. That's because any and all operators who can't do anything other than heal get outclassed by fucking Susuro. From buffing to elemental healing to shirking responsibility and not healing at all to obliterating everything that dares breathe in her vicinity, every decent medic does something weird. T Applesauce, however, doesn't need to do anything unique because she's not a medic. She's a backup battery. She may heal, sure, but literally nobody actually uses her for that. She is good for exactly one thing, and that's increasing the rate of SP generation for every operator on the field by 0.3 per second. Yes, that is just as disgustingly broken as it sounds. The only other thing Tea Applesauce is really useful for is housework, and she's particularly good at cleaning up under the table. Her S2 costs 100 SP, and just guess what it does. For 100 freaking SP, I'm expecting this bitch to pull up in a Ferrari with Keanu Reeves in the backseat and take us to a nice dinner at Red Lobster. Oh my god, is that really the fanciest place I can think of? Unfortunately, Tea Applesauce doesn't have those kinds of connections, so all she does is lower her attack interval and expand her range by 2 to 3 tiles. I know I kicked off this video by glazing the hell out of her module, but range expansion for medics is only really helpful when it's permanent, which is to say, why the fuck would I ever intentionally leave an operator outside of Ptilopsis' range to die in the 17 years it takes her to pump out 70 SP? Range expansion for medics is just kinda ass. Even Aya from the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad event can't get away with it because elemental healing is only worth a damn in Stultifera Navis, don't at me. There are, of course, operators I love. I love my brain-damaged lump of concrete. I love my Depresso cat. I love my sexy-ass chocolate Spaniard. But holy shit, Rosalt is the best operator in the game, and it's really not even close. The first ever thing she does in the story is find a stranger dying in a salt flat and immediately start looting him. She goes on to later get arrested for pickpocketing, buy Elysium on the black market, and blackmail several different pirates on entirely separate occasions into doing her bidding. Rosalt is a two-faced menace on par with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and it is so unbelievably amazing. English-speaking Pasquala is a sweet, innocent little girl who you just can't help but sympathize with. And then she starts speaking Spanish. I have praised Arknights English dub countless times, but this is it. This is the peak of voice acting. Andrea Zuribarro is like 40% of the reason I love Rosalt as much as I do. She does such a stupidly good job with these voice lines that I genuinely wish I could play every single one right here. But you'll just have to watch the Delano Revs video instead. Like, you know how much it sucks when you fail a stage and just want to send your computer straight into the goddamn stratosphere? You know how many times I fucked up a level in some horrifically mortifying way only to get hit with this right after?
Didn't expect you to be so loyal waiting for me like that. Now move it or we're dying together!
How am I supposed to stay mad after that, damn it? Iberia is basically an endless gold mine of amazing operators, but none of them come anywhere close to this goblin child. Also, did I mention that she's a swindler? Like, a scam artist? And they made her a snake?
Comedy.
And by some divine miracle, Rosalt is somehow one of the few legitimately amazing 5 stars out there. Rosalt's S2 minces 50% of incoming damage into DOT, much like Gavial Altar. Anyone who's experienced the torture of helplessly watching one of your operators get one-shot by some fuck-ass frog or something should understand just how good this skill is.
I'm going to kill you, and then kill you again.
Yes, her talent technically debuffs her, but the healing increase more than cancels that out and also affects not only other medics, but self-sustain healing as well. Rosalt can be used to juice operators such as Opianus or Guardian Defenders. But frankly, who cares how good she is? What matters in her case is her character. I cannot stress enough how badly you all need to go listen to her voice lines. Each and every one of them. Trust me, it is worth your time. You know what else is worth your time? Building her. And absolutely nobody has any excuse not to, because guess what? She's welfare, bitch! Rosalt just so happens to be an absolutely incredible character, who just so happens to also be a really good operator, who just so happens to be free. Build her! This is not a request, it is a threat. For whatever reason, Nightingale kind of flies under the radar whenever it comes to the good operator conversation. And on the one hand, I kind of get it, she's not flashy, but at the same time, what are you smoking? Nightingale takes arch damage and pushes it somewhere else. The entire concept of arch damage just goes in the toilet. She casually bends one of the most impactful defensive stats in the game, like how you all bend over backwards trying to convince me that the likes of Scotty and Texas are interesting operators. Let's briefly talk about resistance here. It cripples arch damage, which functions more or less the same for enemies as it does for allies. More resistance allows you to tank more casting, which is a form of damage that is far more dangerous than its physical counterpart because arch damage ignores defense. So allow me to restate that Nightingale defenestrates any semblance of a threat arch damage attempts to pose. Her S3 buffs ally res by plus 150%. 150 fucking %. Oh my god. Now, the easy refute here is that most melee operators don't have any res, so a percentage-based buff doesn't really do much for them. 3,762 times 0 is still 0, but that would be ignoring Nightingale's first talent, which grants plus 15 resistance to all operators in her range. With her S3 active, melee operators that typically go about their day resistance list suddenly negate about 37% of all the arch damage they take. Of course, there is still a drawback, and that's that this skill costs a down payment on a Swiss villa. Good thing she's got another option. Her second skill is instant, applying an arts barrier that does stack and a resistance buff that doesn't. If arts damage is ever an issue, you just slap her down and she handles the situation with minimal effort. Also, just because she wasn't already good enough, Nightingale has summons, because why not? These phantoms do nothing but sit there with 75 res, taunting enemies and tanking punishment. And as an avid user of Sadcat Altar, let me tell you that damage sponges are fucking awesome and eternally underrated. Nightingale's little gravel wannabes are amazing, and in all honesty, really should have just been given to Shining. She needed the bump. Most classes have a tendency to undulate wildly between amazing and abhorrent, not unlike my own classes. More often than not, a class will support both game-breaking operators and game-breaking operators, just in the other direction. Why does it feel like I've forgotten something? Do I know you? It's truly an impressive feat to be so unbelievably boring, everyone just kind of forgets you exist. And the sad thing is, she's actually kind of a good operator too, it's just that nobody cares. Breeze is an AoE medic, but like, a real one. Her S2 lets her fire off AoE rounds, which is funny and kind of useful, but well, no, it's mostly just funny. Strangely enough, her better skill is actually the anti-AoE one, which decreases the number of targets she can heal, but moonshots are healing. I'd still recommend her S2 though, cause, you know, it's funny. Also, her combat ability is listed as being flawed. That means she is less of a battlefield asset than the bitch who can't walk. Just thought that was worth putting out there. I don't really have much else to say about Breeze. Nobody really does. Now back to our regularly scheduled conclusion. AoE medics are good just by virtue of what they are. More healing for the same price. You're often going to have more than one operator eating damage at a time, and healing both at once is killing two birds with one stone. Or the opposite of that, I guess. The only really important takeaway from this video is that you should build Rosalt. Again, that's not a suggestion, it's a command. Do it or I will force feed you 6 liters of Tabasco and super glue your asshole shut. Don't test me.